Alright, so we're doing something minor today. We're just working on the Jag, and I got a feeling that this old frayed battery terminal is causing me some issues. You can see right up in there, it's loose. We got a lot of frays, so we're gonna replace it. It looks like it's just one 13mm nut here, and then there's a connection to the starter, there's a connection to the battery, and it looks like there's a connection that goes interior to maybe the fuse boxes. So we're gonna loosen up this nut, and then we're gonna head to the auto parts store and find a replacement. Okay, so we're working on the battery terminal, positive battery terminal here for the Jag. I definitely don't think we had really good connections. It's super dirty down here, but these aren't too bad. So what we've done so far is we've cleaned off this main bolt. You can see how clean it looks. We've sanded down all the connections so they have a nice connection point, and we bought a new battery cable. So this was the one I got off the car. See if I can't. There we go. You can see how twisted up and mangled that is, and actually that terminal thing is super loose. It's just twist around. So we're gonna replace this thing. Got a new one here. Got it from the auto parts store. So we're gonna get ready to install this one there instead, and we're gonna put lots of dielectric grease up here so we have a nice solid connection. And I think that'll help us with our starting problems. But we're also going to dig into, I know it's a bunch of wires. See that blue connection there? See, I always thought that was a sensor, but I just recently, after reading the manual, realized that that's actually the 7th injector. It's a pre-start injector. I never took it off and cleaned it. I don't think that's, I think that's a little clogged up in there. So we're gonna take that off and pull it out and test it and make sure it's working appropriately. And that should fix all our starting issues. So that's the plan. I'll show you when I'm done with this here in a second. All right, so today we're working on some starting issues with the Jaguar. I figured out what the problem is with this specific XJ engine, but let me give you a couple of areas. So if you own a Jaguar XJ6 4.2 liter, I mean anywhere from, I believe it's 75 to 79 to 87, I believe, because this one has the mass airflow system and the fuel injection, whereas the previous version, Series 2, Series 1, have carburetors. So if you have this set up, let me show you a couple of areas. So hopefully you don't have to go around spending a whole bunch of money like I did. So first things first, you want to check the fuel system. The first thing I noticed is I wasn't getting any fuel with this. So we did end up replacing the fuel pump and fuel filter in the rear of the car. The fuel pump was bad. So once we were getting gas, we weren't getting sufficient pressure. So this is the regulator. This was chock full of rust. And then everything down the line was chock full of rust. So we ended up replacing all the fuel injectors and the fuel pump, fuel filter, and this fuel pressure regulator. What I did not think about was this little guy that's up in here. I've already taken it out. This is what's there. This is called a cold start injector. It is the 7th injector on this inline 6. That's what it looks like. This was the original one that was down in there. You see I've capped it off with a bolt, and I gotta clean that up down in there before I put the new one down. But this thing was just chock full of shit. I soaked it in seafoam for a couple of days. The motor on the inside is clicking when you energize it. You can test energize it by putting the positive and negative lead, as you see here on those right here. Put some alligator clips, and then rig it up so that you can pump some fluid through here. Probably some seafoam, probably not gasoline. Probably not what you want to do. But this thing is still pretty clogged. I think the clog is somewhere in this piece here. I pulled a whole bunch of gunk out of the tip here. So anyways, this part's really unusable, and they've discontinued making it, so the prices on this thing is ridiculous. The problem that you'll get if this isn't working right is you'll have to start the car 6 or 7 times before it cranks over. Now once you've cranked it over, it'll crank over real easy every time after that until the car sits for a few days, and then you'll have the same problem again. But see, that's going to drain your battery, and that's the last thing you want to do, is drain your battery on this car. But we're going to get to that because that's another starting problem. Now I did eventually get this car started without this cold start injector, but I had more issues I had to deal with. So the fuel system is what I just told you. Now the next thing is the electrical system. I wasn't getting enough spark, so I originally thought it was the coil pack that was bad. So I changed the coil pack and I still wasn't getting enough spark. What come to find out, I had 2 issues. Issue 1 is the distributor cap. There's something called a pickup coil inside this distributor cap, and you have to readjust it. Mine was way out of line. What it is pretty much a ring gear inside of this, and then it's a ring gear with 6 cogs on it, and every time a cog passes by this little metal piece inside here, there's a spark that happens. Okay, and that's how you get the spark in the engine. But the problem was they weren't aligned, so they weren't quite touching close enough to get the spark to the engine. So my next thing will tell you is to take this distributor cap off, and inside there's a pickup coil. The last thing I will tell you is once I did that, I was starting to get a spark again, but I wasn't getting enough spark. There is a piece right here. This is a part of the ignition system. See if I can get it to zoom in a little better on that. See, with those 2 bolts right there, that piece right there, there is actually a General Motors spark amplifier inside that box. If you try to buy that box as it stands, that box will cost you $300. I'm talking about this box right here. It connects into the distributor. You can buy a $40 component and I want to say it's a $5 component from SNG Barratt. I'll put it in the description below. Those 2 parts go inside of this box, and so for 45 to 50 bucks you can rebuild this amplifier, the spark amplifier. Once I rebuilt that, then I had enough spark. Okay, it's really not much to really show you. It just bolts inside that box. I believe it's like a really small screwdriver. Excuse me, actually it's a 6.5mm bolts on the back of that thing. Takes it apart, and it's a General Motors spark amplifier. You can get that from AutoZone or Advance Auto. I think I got mine from Advance Auto, and rebuilt that, and then I had enough spark. Then of course the last thing is compression, which I had compression, which was good. I got compression, even compression in all the cylinders. Just get a compression tester, take out the spark plug and put that in, and you can test your compression. So those, the 3 biggest things when starting a car is fuel, air, spark, and compression. So 4 things. This is really what you want. And as long as you got all those things, usually the car should start. But if you're having a hard time like I still am, if it takes 5 or 6 tries for your car to start, that's your problem. Your cold start injector is not injecting any fuel in the pre-start of the engine, so it doesn't have enough fuel to really get started, because the injectors only put a small amount of fuel each time it goes around the cam. So I do have a new one here. I bought mine from Australia because that was the cheapest one. I think I got this one from eBay Australia. I think I paid like $190 something plus shipping from Australia, which was $230. Still ended up being cheaper than the $395, $400 I was seeing everywhere else in America. So I got this piece here. We are going to test this. We're going to hook it up and test it, and once this goes in, that should be our starting issues. Oh, one more thing, your battery. Make sure you got the correct size battery. Whatever they try to give you in the auto parts store, go 1 size up. My battery is, hold on, I went 1 up from what they said I needed. So I got 800 cold cranking amps is what I got here. 1000 amp capacity, reserve 105. This is the one I went ahead and got from one of the auto parts stores near my house. That's a size up from what was recommended in their computer system. That battery did not give me enough juice to start this engine over, whereas when I hooked up that battery, it started immediately. So just kind of keep that in mind, and I would suggest, because this car is notorious for draining the battery, get one of these for the negative in, so that way you're not draining the battery whenever the battery's hooked up. So I hope that helps. I'm gonna show you how to test this, the new cold start injector. We're pretty much just gonna hook it in here, hook in the lead, which is down here somewhere. Here you go. We're gonna hook in the lead and see if we can't hook a water bottle up to the end and see if it will make it squirt some gasoline. And if it starts squirts gasoline, we know it works. So that's where we're at. See you back in a second. Okay, so let's see. We got a pretty good angle there. So we need to get to where that cold start injector is. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually let's tighten that back down. So we're going to move this air box system out of the way. Okay, so we're going to loosen the clamp around the air box, pull the air box off, put it out of the way. This is the mass airflow sensor right here. We need to move that out the way. There's actually 3 nuts holding it down, but I have not put those nuts, all 3 of those nuts back. The way you can do, even if the nuts are there, if you loosen them up, there's one up underneath here, one up on this side, and then there's one right here. I'm just going to take it off of this main one and then pull it up. Then I'm going to undo this clamp here, loosen it up some. That should be enough to pull this off, but before we do that, let's take off the mass airflow sensor connector here. It should, it has a little metal bracket around it. Let's see, well, I might have to do it after the fact. There we go. Undo that vacuum line. Okay, actually, you can keep it connected. You can keep that mass. All you gotta do is just move it out of the way. Okay. So we need to get up in. We need to get up in here. So the next thing we want to do is actually. I'm gonna move this out the way too. This little component. We're getting closer, so we need to move this stuff out the way here. I don't want to cut on this hose here, so before we can get to that hose, probably should remove this metal one. This one goes to the PVC valve. So the last thing you want to do is damage anything. So to remove the PCV valve one, we're going to loosen up this clamp here, and then we're going to loosen it up on the PVC valve itself. Got that out the way. And we might be able just to pull this down. Yeah. We're right here now. We could probably just pull this out the way. Yeah. What I'm going to do, because there's enough slack on that, we're just going to kind of loop that up, kind of like this. So now I can get to this here. Okay, so I got got the bolt out. I've sanded down that surface and cleaned it real good. Here's the new component. I'm gonna try to just get that pushed into the hole here. So there we go. I got the new one installed. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and hook up the electrical lead to it. And now technically what I'm going to end up doing is connecting the battery. I'm going to put this water bottle right here. It's got a used water bottle. And then when I connect the battery, the fuel pump should prime the system. And when I try to start it, we should see a little bit of fuel spray out. At least that's the hope here. Alright team, give me 1 second. Okay, so I've connected the battery. I'm gonna try to angle this so you can see it. Let's see if we get a little bit of spray when I start the car. It feels fine. We're good. We're good. Alright, so we're getting ready to put this thing back in. You just saw that it works now. We know we're getting gas. The gas finally made it through. I got a gasket here from SNG Barratt. That's what hold on a second. Let me see that. That's the gasket. That is the item code for the gasket. And then it gets these, oh no, I dropped it. Then it gets these 2 screws right here. They're 2, I believe they're T27s or T30s. So they're either T27 or T30. I'll tell you here in a second. I'll tell you here in a second. Alright. Okay, let's see if y'all can see this. We have that in place. There are actually 2 T30 screws that hold that down, two T30s, and you just tighten them down, just snug them down, not too tight. Now we're going to get ready to put all this. We're going to put all this back together and test it, see how easy the engine starts. So just give me a couple of minutes. I'm putting it all back together the way you saw me take it apart. How it is. Time. See how easy that was? Cold start injector.